So you're a pianist like me and you love your instrument, but it has an unfortunate reality. This thing, it can't move. Even nice electronic keyboards still require being able to be plugged in, by and large, in order to be played. So what are you going to do if you need to be mobile? Well, today, you're going to find out. I'm Alek Wasserman, and you're watching Wasserman Music. So here I have a melodica, also known as a pianica. This model is actually a Yamaha P-37 Black. When I bought it over the summer, it was about $140. Now it looks like it's retailing for about $117. It's fairly expensive as far as melodicas go, but I don't really regret paying for it at all because it's a really nice one. It has 37 keys, not surprising given the name P-37. And it can do a lot of things. So in my day job, I'm actually an elementary school music teacher, and in my first year of teaching, I implemented melodicas as an alternative to recorder at my school. And the reason that I did that is because I am personally a pianist, and I felt like I had more to offer the kids by teaching an instrument that's more similar to my own primary instrument. And what I ended up with was third graders who actually knew all the keys of a keyboard and could read a little treble music very fluently. And that's not completely unheard of at all in American music education, but it's not the most common thing, especially for a first-year teacher to be able to accomplish that. Unfortunately, melodicas are not super applicable right now, given that we have a pandemic and this instrument blows air. But, you know, it was a great experience overall. So one of the things that I really like about melodicas is that they come with two different mouthpieces most of the time. This shorter mouthpiece is meant for playing with one hand, and that can be very useful. But if you're ever in a situation where you do want to sit down with the instrument rather than walking around, you have a longer tubular mouthpiece like this that you can put in, and you can actually play with both hands, although it requires a lot of air. One of the really interesting things about the melodica is that it's one of the only keyboard instruments that can actually do vibrato, but that actually brings up one of its downfalls, admittedly, which is that if you're not also a wind player, it can be really hard to get the nuances out of the melodica as opposed to an instrument like the piano that is controlled entirely by the keyboard. My other mobile piano alternative is probably even more non-traditional, and that's the Keytar. Right here I have a Yamaha Sonogenic SHS-300, which is, as far as I can tell, the least expensive Keytar on the entire market. It's one of only two models that I'm aware of that can move around with its own batteries and without an amp. As you can see, I'm not plugged in anywhere at all. The Sonogenic SH500 is about $100 more expensive. This one was about $200. That one goes for about $300. But I actually recommend this cheaper model, and one of the reasons is that it has a better speaker. My speaker is right here and it's facing forward, so if I play something, you can hear it pretty clearly. On the 500, the speaker is in basically the same spot, but it's actually facing backwards. So I think it's actually not as good of a deal, even though it's more expensive. I have it set on the default setting right now, which is, in all honesty, kind of a terrible synthesizer. But there's 3 sounds within each setting, so here's the second synthesizer. A little better. That's the third one, not so great. The piano sound is not bad, though, I'll give them that. You know, it sounds basically like a lot of other electronic keyboards. There's your electronic keyboard sound, actually. And then here's an organ sound. Not terrible. And then you've got a couple different guitar sounds. And other. That's supposed to be a string sound. And I think that's a bass guitar. One neat thing about this instrument is that, much like the melodica, it can actually do vibrato. Although I am always weirded out by the sound of a piano that has vibrato. But it also has a sustain pedal right here on this button, so... You know, you can mess around with that. And there's modulation. So if I play this D, I can slide it all the way up to an E, or I can slide it down to a C. It goes a major second in either direction. What I've found this instrument insanely useful for is that during the pandemic, a lot of elementary music teachers, such as myself, have to move around from classroom to classroom now in order to fulfill all the safety guidelines. And that's unfortunate, but it is what it is, and we're trying to keep everyone safe. So I'm totally okay with that. But the problem that presented was I needed a keyboard. I am not a singer and I'm a lower male voice, so for me to be a vocal model for the kids is not always necessarily easy. I have a much easier time getting kids to follow along with the music if it's in the range where they would sing or play it or whatever, and that's much easier to do with a keyboard. But how can you do that without being able to move the keyboard, right? So this is actually a recommendation that I'm making to any elementary music teachers who are mobile right now that are watching this video. Invest in one of these and you will not regret it. Thank you to those of you who made it this far in the video. If you're paying attention, you probably noticed a couple of things have changed. First of all, I clearly got a new camera, and I was also able to re-record the intro sequence to my videos with a higher quality of sound. All of these things are much easier if you like, share, comment, and on YouTube, subscribe. All of the above will help me with building my channel and my online presence, and it's much easier to justify investing time and financial resources into this venture if I'm getting some internet presence. So please, again, like, comment, share, subscribe. Thank you so much.